Got a little SkyScraper Guitars house call to do today. I'm back home visiting for the holidays, and one of my buddies has a bass guitar, a P bass that he just acquired that needs a little bit of attention. It's not playing very well, and he's going to go from a flat wound to a round wound string. We're going to take a little bit of time and get him sorted out. Should be kind of fun. What year is this, Scott?
It is 1997.
1997 Fender P bass, and Scott just picked up this guitar, right?
Yes.
And usually plays a 5-string. This is a 4-strings bass with flat wounds on it currently. And we're going to switch to round wounds, right?
Yes.
The action is pretty high on this. We already looked down the neck to make sure there was no twist. It's got a little bit of a bow, which is fine. So this is how you know whether or not your truss rod needs to be adjusted. Put a capo on the 1st fret.
Okay.
Usually I measure these about where the body joins. 15th fret's good. You can measure them at the 7th fret, the 8th fret, the 9th fret. And what I'm doing is I'm looking at the gap there. See how there's a gap between the feeler gauge and the fret? What you want is there to be no gap. Okay.
Gotcha.
So that's a 14, this is a 22. We're pretty close to that. We're pretty close to 22. So what that tells me, 14 is gonna play really nice on a bass. You can do 12 as well if it doesn't buzz. So what happens is the lower that number goes, the higher the probability of fret buzz. What that tells me is there's not enough tension in the truss rod, it's too loose. So what we want to do is we want to loosen up the strings, pop this neck off, and then tighten that truss rod just a little bit. Another way you can measure this is if you have a notch straight edge like this. This should be, it's this one. So this will tell you, you can see how flat the neck is there, or not flat. See the gap between that. Now that's going all the way from this fret to that one. You can also put it up onto the frets, and then you can take your feeler gauges and measure again at the 9th or whatever. See that gap is too big?
Yeah.
So just kind of 2 different ways to do the same thing. Does this scare you at all?
Should I be scared?
No.
Oh.
Okay. We will turn it. It might creak and groan, just so you know.
I'll do the same thing. So so clockwise.
So it's just like any screw, righty tighty, lefty loosey.
Okay.
So it was too smiley faced, right? And so it works. These tension the top side, the truss rod tensions the back side. So if it's too smiley faced, you need more tension to flatten it out. Now, what we can do, that's kind of fun, is generally what you see, and I think we guessed just about right. Generally what you see is if the neck is flat without strings on it, it'll have just the right amount of relief when you put string tension back onto it. Okay. So you can see this is almost completely, perfectly flat now, right? There's no gap between the bottom of this piece and the fretboard, right? There's no light coming through there.
Nice. Yeah.
So generally, that means when you string it back up to pitch, it'll be really, really close to what you want it to be. And you don't have to strip these screws out when you put them back together either. Just tight, not He-Man tight. You see a lot of these screws that look like a beaver ate into them. It's right there. Yep. I would say that is where I like it. Yeah, 12 slips in, 14 touches, so that's going to be pretty good as far as relief goes. Let's see. Yeah, you're at 7/64s, almost 8, 7.5. Here, down here you're at 5.5, which isn't terrible. I think we can make that a lot better. We're gonna dunk that down. Same on both sides. You always want those level. Some guys have them at angles and things like that. You always want them level. So we're gonna start there. I think you'll like that. See all the 64ths on that end?
Uh-huh.
So when I'm doing this, I'm looking at the 12th fret and just seeing where it sits on the 64th scale.
Okay.
I like to see them about 5. Some bass guitars need about 6 to keep from farting. It just depends. And again, that goes back to your neck relief and all of that. You know, the better everything is tuned in, the lower that action will be. But this is significantly lower than what you had it. So I think we can start there. And what I'm looking for is on your treble string there, I'm looking for about 4 64ths. So then you split the difference between the 2 middle ones. See where I'm saying? So we're just maybe, we're just a hair over 5 there. So this one will set maybe right on 5 and a little bit below 5 and then right on 4. On bass guitars, it's always key to keep them tuned as you go because the neck is so long. It affects.
So every time we do an adjustment, you want to make sure it's tuned just to keep it.
Yeah, because the string tension affects the curvature of these necks much more than a guitar neck. We're gonna drop this one down just a little bit too. Lastly, I think this one wanted to dive just a little bit. Yep. Okay, one more time through just to make sure. Yep. We're gonna set the intonation. You ever done that?
No.
Okay. So we'll set it first here, not in the playing position, and then we'll put it in the playing position and make sure that it's right. So our harmonic should always be exact, right? Your 12th fret harmonic. They should be dead on pitch. And then at the 12th fret, you can see, so sharp is when it rolls, whoops, to the right. So it's a little bit sharp, which means the string is too short, right? At the 12th fret. So the 12th fret's too short. So what we do is we come in and you have to, if you're making them longer, you want to slack the string off just a little bit. There we go. So we're going to turn it just a wee bit. Back up to pitch. Still just a bit sharp.
Never knew that's what these were for.
Yep. So we're just a little, still a little bit sharp, not much, probably about right there. So what this will do is it'll make it play up the neck just perfectly, all the way in tune. That's what we want to see.
Wow. That's cool.
So we're a little bit flat there. A little bit sharp on that too. Now this may change when we go to the round wounds. We'll see. Different gauge strings will do different things, all kinds of stuff will work, but we'll just go through. We're just roughing it in, making sure that it's close. A little bit sharp, not much. Like that. Still just a tick sharp, isn't it? Yep. The guys out on tour, this is what they have now. The white boss is what everybody had on tour when I was doing it. Now everybody's got one of these and the white boss. Because, well, they all used to have the Peterson strobe in a rack. They had either the Peterson strobe or there was another one, I can't remember what it was called, but it did like this weird sweep thing with LEDs. But everybody had either one of those two. So now we're dead on for intonation. We want to recheck this in playing position. It's just a tick sharp, isn't it? Harmonic. Guitars, it doesn't matter near as much as it does on basses for playing position versus not. But I check them both the same way. That's good. That's good. Just kind of play that for feel. What I'm wondering is there any buzz that you're feeling or hearing that you wouldn't normally feel or hear? Let's do this. Does it feel good? The string action a little bit better?
Much better.
A lot better? Okay.
Oh man, that feels nice.
Good. A little sponginess on this pickup. So we'll take a peek under here. We got a couple new foam blocks. There it goes. This took it a second.
Yeah.
That guy on there. Instruments take maintenance, right? I mean, like the all original 59 Strat needs maintenance.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, well, because somebody was talking about this, and I said, well, they said, what year is it? I said, it's a 97. I said, well, 22 years.
Yeah, it's a long time for foam. So all the electricals look good. Doesn't look like anybody's been in here since the factory, so that's a good thing. So we will seal that back up. Unfortunately, we don't have an amplifier to test this today. Unless you brought one, Scott.
I did not.
I didn't figure you did. 97, so we've got 20 years of finger cheese on here. We're just gonna shine these up, see how that's doing. Just the tops of them.
Oh, nice.
These are actually Crimson Guitars fret erasers out of the UK. Good guys. It'll make the strings a little slicker in your hand. I don't know if that makes any sense. If you don't have a comparable, like if you don't do it on a normal basis, you may not even notice. It's got a little bit of an indent you can see.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see that from back there? Right here?
Yeah.
Just right there.
Yeah.
Nothing bad. I wouldn't probably fix it at this point in time, but if you play this thing a lot, it'll probably wear in. At some point you'll want to recrown, file and recrown it. How often have you had somebody restring your basses for you? I was gonna say, it probably feels a little weird, doesn't it? So, bass string. Is this how you do it, 1, 2?
That's exactly how I did
Okay,
it.
good. Just want to make sure I'm not screwing you up. And then
Nope.
over and around, right? There are some people who come back through the center. Do you do that? No?
I usually,
Just like I'm doing it?
I stick it down and then give it a bend and then, yeah.
I see people stick it down, come around, stick it back through, and then turn it. Prevents what just happened there. Just all preference, I suppose. That.
Oh, man.
That should be set up. Again, take a whirl there. Hang on, I'll turn the camera around. There we go. Now we got round wounds. Feel better in the fingers?
Man, that feels good.
Here we get the,
Yeah.
So we're looking at just right there underneath the string to see if we're set. I think we're actually on this one a little bit high.
So those are just like a big version of your feeler gauges.
They are, and they're brass so they don't stick to the magnets. Yeah. A lot of people like their pickups high because they sound more impressive. And my thought is turn your amp up. Because what happens is you lose your sustain as these come up. So the magnets will actually pull the string down and you'll lose sustain. So my thought is get maximum sustain and use your amplifier for volume. If you play it and you find either the bass strings or the treble strings are overpowering, adjust them accordingly. I mean, just, you know, if you, hey, I can't hear my G, pull it up. If your G is way too prominent, push it down. You know, it's just, I mean, that's essentially what it is, right? Those two are for your E, your A, your D, and your G. So adjust accordingly. If all you're hearing is the snap on one string or another, just adjust your pickups a little bit. Took off the thumb rest, no ashtray piece on here. Little intonation, neck relief adjustment, string height, and it's playing awesome. There we go, Scott.